That's a mere mortal right there.
Ooh.
Oh, my voice feels shaky.
Oh,
I actually feel a little bit self-conscious right now.
because you're talking.
Yeah, it's a new experience. So welcome, first of all, Mere Mortalites, to another Mere Mortals
Episode
conversation.
200!
Yeah, there's a lot of things to
200.
celebrate and
Lots
talk
of things
about.
to celebrate.
So I'll be your sensei for this one. I'll be your sensei. As always, I have my co-host sensei with me, Juan.
Hello,
Good.
folks.
Good. So why is it special? Well, yes, obviously episode 200. That's we don't really care. We don't really notice.
No.
But, that's something.
It just so happened that it kind of paired up nicely with episode 100.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough.
Perfectly.
We did not plan this.
No, not
Almost
at all.
everything lined up for the fact that it lined up in that particular way.
So for those not aware, episode 100 was on Buddhism, and I just really wanted to take my shirt off. So that was why we did that. And this one, it's going to be about solitude, but it's also about my journey, my retreat. The long anticipated retreat. Mm-hmm. So
I'm basically, I was going to take notes for today and I went, I'm just going to ask questions. It's just really, yeah.
I didn't even write any notes either. I've got some notes from the actual thing itself, but nothing on solitude, for example.
Good.
So.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's just jump into it. I don't think. Is there anything else you want to bring up? I don't know. It's been a week since.
I mean, the only thing I was going to say was maybe a little definition for people before we dive into it.
Yeah,
and I did find this
first.
because I wanted to make it different. There's different things: solitude and loneliness.
Correct.
Two different things. And really, my definition, description, and differentiator is loneliness is basically the feeling sad of being socially isolated. It's almost not that you have a choice. It's you're socially isolated, and so you feel lonely. But solitude is almost the active state of choosing to be on your own and not missing the social aspect. So it's almost of your own choosing. So the actual definition, it's a state of seclusion or isolation, lack of contact with people. I would just add it's the active action of doing that as well. Yeah. So that's to give it a little context. We're going to be talking about solitude, not loneliness.
So you probably could be living in solitude in a way, but still be around people. And this might be something we'll talk about on the meanderings I'm using. Which is,
definitely, yep.
A little bit outside the scope of this. So first of all, why did I do it? What did I want to get out of it?
Yeah, give me a hypothesis at the beginning, and then we'll go on his story.
So I got exactly what I wanted out of it, which was nothing. I had no expectations coming into this. There was nothing in particular. Like, honestly, this was almost as random for me as, deciding to choose running this last year instead of choosing to do swimming, or instead of choosing to do any other cardio-based things. It was something I'd heard about in other people, so most notably Sam Harris, but also a bit through Tim Ferriss's. And I just thought that might be something that is up my alley. And so I set myself an arbitrary one of 7 days. I actually did 6 or 6.5, if you want to put it.
Yep.
And so
coming
into it, there was no
expectations.
There was no normal Chiron thing of like, okay, if I'm going to start the Mere Mortals, for example, there's a page just out there of what I wanted to get out of the Mere Mortals, learn from this. If I'm going to do the fitness challenge, what sort of expectations do I have? How am I going to set it up? All these sorts of things. So this was like...
You came at it with rules of what you were going to do, but not with the expectations or outcomes on this is what I must get out of it, or this is what I think I'm going to get out of it. Okay.
Yeah. So you brought up rules, so I'll list them off. These are my silent retreat rules.
So this was, like I said, just to make sure people, because we might know this guy saw him in passing, but for everyone, so you set up a few rules for yourself before you went off to the retreat. I was going to actually ask you, as you go and start listening through, what, like, did you hear it from another place of like, yes, you should put on rules, and two, maybe a little bit of like why you went and chose those rules? Yeah,
well, look, the whole thing was sort of like maybe misguided in you could have put it in that way, in the sense that there was no real structure to this. Why did I choose 7 days instead of the normal 10 days? Why did I choose to do it on my own instead of going with a group? Well, there is a reason for that. So there was no strictness to any of this, but there was strictness in the same sense. And we're going to talk about the Zen and the being at the one, the Buddha nature, all the things I've learned, some interesting things. So I'll just give the context. So last Thursday, I set off. I'd rented an Airbnb for 7 nights. I went to this place, and it was essentially a granny flat in a couple's backyard in Nambour, which is a little bit out in the sticks, not terribly so, but a little bbit. And this was detached from the house, so it was essentially, I'm going to say a donga. So it had a tiny bathroom, a toilet, a shower, a little sink. Mm-hmm. Then there was the main area, which just had a bed, a tiny kitchenette, and that was it. Okay. So, and a table and 2 chairs. So very, very
basic, simple, easy.
Yep. And I rented this for 7 days, and I even in my initial thing, I just wrote to them. I was like, "Hey, I'm probably going to be a little bit antisocial in the sense that I just want to. You
will not see me at all."
Yeah, exactly. So they were expecting that as well, which was nice. So when I rocked up there, I said hi to the guy Mark. It was really cool. He was just like, "Yeah, here's the place. I hear you're just going to not be around much." And I'm like, "Yep, I'm just going to stay inside. So, please don't disturb if possible." And they didn't, which was fantastic.
Awesome.
So
good for them. Yep. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Amy. So here's some of the rules I set out for myself. I had a couple of drafts of this. So I had my first draft probably a month or 2 ago. Second draft was, very similar. And then the third one I created on the actual night itself when I was there. Because I was like, maybe there's some things I can't anticipate or can do or can't do. Maybe I need to go outside, for example, for some reason or whatnot. So, these were my rules that I created for myself. So I put it under 3 categories. First was physical. So I'm going to see, just compare what you would think of these and how you would handle this. So
and again, 7 days.
Yeah. So arrived on the Thursday. So checked in at like 2, just after 2 p.m. And then today is Thursday. So that's left at 8 a.m. something like that. So it was
day to day 7,
6.5. If you want to get technical, 7 something days.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
So no talking out loud, whistling, humming, or dancing at all. So how would you go with any of these? You reckon?
The whistling would be hard.
Yeah?
The whistling would be hard.
See, I didn't notice you whistling that much.
Not really. But after a while, most definitely.
You'd want to.
But I'm almost thinking, when I walk around, it's listening to a podcast, it's listening to something. So if it was with nothing, and I've done this a couple of times, I do notice up to a point I'll start making some noise myself. So for sure. Like I'll start being I was just walking down 10 minutes into it, I'm just like, no. Some noise will come out, probably not that loud. But that would be a hard one. I'd start feeling it by the end of the day.
Yeah, gotcha. There is one thing I want to clarify. So even though I said no talking out loud, like no conversational type words of any sort were to be said, there was 2 instances actually, and I'll say that
we'll say
at the very end because it ties in with my triple M. But hang around to the end, people, because there's some interesting stuff.
Okay.
No sexual pleasures or eating before 6 p.m. So what I was worried about there was distracting myself. Yep. So obviously sexual pleasures, that's easy.
Yep.
And then the eating as well. I was like, well, I do this already, but I could see myself if I did all my meditation and then I'm bored and then just going, it's 3 p.m. or something.
I'll just eat
I'll just eat something now just to, whatever. Only stretching, and so no exercise that induces heavy breathing. So I allowed myself to do some stretching, move the body around, but nothing physical, I guess you would say.
Fair enough,
no handstands in the walls, no push-ups, no sit-ups.
Just light stretches. Okay.
Yep. I must stay in the room the full 6 days. So this was one I didn't have coming into it because I wasn't sure, what this place is actually going to be like. If it was on my own, isolated somewhere, way in the back of the property or something, I might have just been like, I'm allowed to go outside and appreciate nature, that sort of thing. But when I was there, there was kids running around. It was essentially their backyard.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, if I went outside, there's a high likelihood I'm going to meet
interacting people.
Whatnot. And obviously, no screen technology, games, or mindless distractions. And they tried to fool me. They tried to trick me, these people, because when I went in there, I think it was day number 2, I looked in one of the cabinets and there was a deck of cards and there was 2 books that I hadn't brought myself. And I went, they're tempting me. How is my Buddha nature going to respond? And I did bring 5 books with me. So I brought Bringing Home the Dharma by Jack Cornfield, The Essential Chuangzu. I don't know how to pronounce in Chinese, by Chuangzu. I brought The Refuge by True Refuge by Tara Brach. I brought The Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind by Suzuki Roshi, and All Else is Bondage.
All
No
Else
sexual
is
pleasures
Bondage.
there.
Dang.
By Wei Wu Wei. So I had these 3 Buddhist type books to do. So
Nice.
here's a couple of differences that I read from normal retreats. So these are the Vipassana 10-day retreats, the sort of Western style ones mostly. So these are ones you can go into Australia. There's one on the sunny coast.
Yeah,
there
and
is,
reads that sort of stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and so most of them are like most of the same things. You know, no sexual pleasures, no screen technology games or whatever. But they say no books and no writing either. So, so when you're there, you're meant to be
Stuff that no writing,
dedicating
man.
yourself.
No.
It's pretty hard. I mean, people do it anyway. Like it's not like they're in your room constantly
Telling you
looking
not
at
to do it,
and you're already doing it in Australia, so it's already a sort of bastardized
version of what it actually is.
Of
Yeah,
what it is in other
okay,
places.
but yes, fair enough.
But you know, I was reading. So Jack Cornfield, for those who don't know, was pretty influential in bringing Buddhism and Eastern philosophy to the West during the 70s, 60s, roughly that stage.
Yep.
And he himself went into Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, those sorts of places.
Yeah.
And he did I think he said at least 3 years of, you know, the hardcore
Stuff.
Yeah.
His interview with Tim Ferriss was super good.
Yeah,
Go check
and
that out
he's
if you
been
wanna
on
know
Sam Harris's a lot as well.
more. Oh, has he?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
And so even he was saying, though, you know, they have modern things like when he was there, and this was in the 60s or 70s,
Yeah.
they were allowed coffee. I was like, whoa, what's this? This isn't that hardcore. No,
I'll show you
wrong.
hardcore. You're like, I'll show you hardcore. No coffee, ever.
Ever. No, they certainly were hardcore. Reading that book was like, damn, there's some people out there. The second step, so the second batch was the meditation. So I wanted to do 8 hours per day with 4 hours of strong determination sitting. So strong determination is where you sit in your pose, you get ready in your pose, and then you just aren't allowed to move a muscle. So no twitching, well, I mean, you know, if you twitch, you can't control that, but no itching,
no conscious movement,
no tensing, no slight, you know, turning to the side or whatever. And just 8 hours per day. So I was going to be awake for 16 hours. I was like, screw it, I'll just do half. Most of these other places, I think they tend to do around 11-ish. So, yeah, there's a little bit of a difference there. So 3 positions allowed for myself. So there was one on the floor, cross-legged. There's one in the chair sitting and one just on the floor, lying completely down. And 3 types allowed. So I've tried a lot of different types in my heyday of meditation practice. There's the metta, which is the loving kindness. There's the full body scans and those sorts of things. I stuck to a concentration one. So that was just focus on the breath, purely on the breath, going in and out of the nose, like nothing else. Choiceless awareness. So that was where whatever pops up in the mind, I have to just witness it. So there's no direction of the concentration or awareness. So if I think of, you know, the podcast or you, that's okay, as long as there's sort of like the second entity in me looking and being aware, like, oh, that came up. The podcast came up.
Gotcha.
I can hear the bird chirping outside.
Not like a first person directing the movie. You're almost kind of catching it from the side and seeing what's going on.
Yeah. And that's the good analogy. So one thing I was thinking of was, you know, how to describe some of these sort of things was, you know, when you're watching a movie, go to the movie cinemas and you're totally engrossed in the movie. It's maybe one of the Lord of the Rings ones, one of the Matrix. You are just part of that. Now, I'm sure we've all had experiences going to a movie as well, where it's kind of shit. We're not really enjoying ourselves. And so we're looking for distractions elsewhere. So that's when you realize you're in the movie theater, you know.
As opposed to watching the movie.
Well, not more like you're not engrossed in it. So you can even be watching it, but there's in your head, you're not like, there's no conscious awareness of because when you're watching Lord of the Rings, it's just that's all there is. And if someone slapped you in the face, you'd be like, fully out of it. But there's movies where you can watch it, you can be watching it, but realizing you're watching it at the same time.
Yes,
I'd say that's that sort of thing. And then the other was on having no head. So that was the Douglas Harding.
Having no head.
Yeah. So it's type of one where essentially. I learned this from Sam Harris's one where it's a way of like directing yourself of you have your eyes open for this one, and it's essentially asking you a series of questions to be like, how can you be sure you actually have a head? So because you can't see it. And this is using really sight as one of the pure, because sight is like just one of the biggest senses, I would say, probably the primary one. And you can't see your head at all. You can see it in a mirror, but just looking at you now, all I sort of see is, this stuff out of there, my body when I look down.
Yeah, but you can't.
But I can't see my eye. I can't see my lips. I can't be. So there's this way of a series of instructions to look inward, like sort of try and look at your own head in a way. And essentially what you should see is not your head, but space for the world. Like just a sort of like dark, not even darkness. There's just a nothingness there. So it's a type of meditation.
I guess it's the almost the intrinsic mindset that it puts you into and thinking in those ways.
Yep. And so every time I had to mentally set which one I was going to do before flipping my trusty hourglass. This was my friend.
This has got a good use.
Yeah, well, man, like you can see all the fingerprints and stuff on it.
Good.
And if the hourglass jams, which it has before.
Oh, has it?
Yeah, because I don't know if you can see this. Yeah, you can. So this happened right on the last day. There's a piece of glitter in there. And so that glitter can sometimes get stuck. Right now it's stuck on the side of it, but normally it was floating within the sand mixture. Ooh. So it has in the past, the hourglass has jammed. And so knowing this, I was like, okay, what am I going to do in that case? Am I going to, no matter where it is, just go, yep, I'm done. So if it's, jams right now after 10 seconds, can I say that?
Yeah.
No. So I was like, no, you have to, take that as a sign from the universe. You have to
start again.
Not start again. Shake, because then I would have to re-weight it all and then do it again.
Yeah, so give it a shake.
Shake, let it go out. So I'll tell you about my first hour's worth on the very first day. Then there's some just general stuff. So reading, writing, and reflection is permitted after all of the meditation. So I was,
okay, cool. Yeah.
A lot of these retreats, they really try and say to you, you want to be in that mindset the whole time. So even when you're not meditating, you still want to have that awareness of just everything in general, I guess. And for me, I went, no, I want to actually use this for some other stuff as well. So I want to use it for writing down things, reflecting on my life, my personality, those
those sort of things.
Stretching is permitted between meditations. So if I was getting like real sore or something,
stretch it out.
Once it's done, get up, switch and whatnot. And I was also allowing myself to tick off the meditations just to know how many I'd done during the day. Because after like 6 or 7, I had a feeling I'd be like, oh, shit,
what am I up to?
And then no Spanish and no communication as well. So I just wanted to really say like, hey, no distracting.
No getting around to this. Yep.
And I did try and think in Spanish sometimes. And then like when I realized, I'm like, damn it.
No, back to that. Yeah.
So my general, I've got a little general, I guess you'd call it schedule of what happened. So my general thing, this is what actually happened. I would generally wake up around sort of 6:30 to 7. I didn't have an alarm of any sort, but I was pretty constant in that. Do my normal sort of just wake up, go to the bathroom, clean teeth, splash water on the face, that sort of stuff. And I would be generally starting between 7 to 7:30. And then I would just basically try and do the full 8 hours right at the start of the day because I really suck at meditation during the night. I really, really struggle. So usually I would try and do my strong determinations, more of them at the start than at the end.
Yep.
And I actually did change one of the things from these rules, which was I changed one of my yoga one of my later ones of meditation to sort of a stretching meditation. So it was more like breathing into a really strong stretch, which is what I used to do a lot. So, yoga, people do say it's meditation. Yeah, it is and it isn't. So, but this was just one thing I allowed myself. So I'd do that just with the general stretching and all the other stuff. I would generally be finished all of the 8 hours by between 4 to 5 o'clock.
Yep.
And then I would sort of from 5 o'clock onwards, shower, and read until it was 7 o'clock. Then I would have dinner. That usually took about 2 hours roughly. Clean teeth, read, and then go to sleep. I wasn't particularly timing it, but it was roughly around 10ish most nights. So then I would sleep for 8.5 hours, get up, do it all again.
Yep.
Yeehaw.
Again. Yep.
So here's some anything you want to chime in with at this stage?
For me, a lot of rules in there that I would struggle hardcore. Definitely those meditations where it's like not moving for 4 hours. Obviously, it's not in a row, but even just doing 1 hour, man, I would just struggle so hard.
I mean,
we'll talk into it, like, how it actually went. But for me, I would say for sure, like I couldn't even do a day of that. Not right now. I'd have to prepare myself for it. But I mean, all the others sound good to me in terms of the rules. And also, I think it's good to highlight that if you're taking on challenges like this, it's not like you have to do it by the book exactly like how others do it. Sure, as long as you've got all the basic core components that make what you're doing worth it. It's not like, okay, I'm going to go on a silent retreat, but then talk for 3 hours every afternoon. It's like, oh, no, I'm not doing that. It's that I'm doing this and then stretching out a little bit because I'm whatever, right? So it's like, it's still those core concepts are there, even if you're slightly deviating away from what it's supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of a game you play with yourself, right? So what happens if you do accidentally break one of the rules? Well, do you chuck everything out the window or do you just start again and start again? And that's what you learn from most of the Buddhist texts and things like that.
Yep.
If you're meditating, something comes up, doesn't matter, start again. Start again. So,
which I would be like, I don't know if start again would be the right thing. Yeah, I don't know. Would you agree with that?
With
start again?
With what?
Like when they say from the Buddhist books, is it like start again? Is it like start again from fresh?
No, not like from scratch. As in start it like Zen mind, beginner's mind. It's perfect.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So that the whole essence of Zen is just like there's a oneness. It keeps going. So
just continue basically.
Your stuff up doesn't matter. Like the next second is as precious as the second that was before.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter if you screw up because
that's the next second.
Yeah. It's like the present moment that counts.
Good.
So
okay.
Yeah, not start again as in
start from the
like
beginning.
Striving.
Well, that's what I've learned. Like, it's weird. This applies to so many things. But for me, running, and I'll talk about it at some other point with monthly goals or whatever. Yeah. I've now gone to that point where it's like, you got to be like, no, it just is.
Start again. It is. Yeah. So in preparation for this, there was a couple of things I did. Where's my phone? I did actually have a list of some things. So essentially the month before, 3 weeks before, I implemented a couple of things just to do here at home to get ready for it. So
you meditated a lot.
I did meditate a lot. So increasing from actually 2 months before, I started upping it. So I was doing, I don't know, I think it was like 10 minutes, 20 minutes a day at the start of this year. And then I was gradually increasing it 5 minutes each week. So I started going like 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. And then the month before, essentially, I was doing an hour and a bit each day. So I was getting used to sitting there for a while. And just doing that. So, crap, I can't even remember where I put all these things. I can, they're essentially basically the same rules as I had here.
Okay.
No phone in the mornings, no alarm. So I got rid of my alarm and no phone until after I'd done all my meditation. There was I tried to, when I was on my own, limit coughing, scratching, sneezing, all those sorts of things. Essentially.
You were essentially starting to apply the rules slightly earlier just to start getting used to
as
that
much
fact.
as you can. As much as you can. So Thursday. So I arrived Thursday and because 6 days, 8 hours a day, it's 48. No, I need to do 50. So I was like, all right, I'll do one on the Thursday and then one on the next
Thursday of leave,
the Thursday of and Thursday of leaving.
Yep.
So that was close to one of the worst ones, honestly. The very first one on that evening, even though it was just 1 hour, it felt the same as if I'd done 2 hours continuous just sitting there. It's something about doing it in the night that just really
is hard.
I struggle with. And I did try experimenting with slow eating, which is another thing you'd probably struggle with.
Yeah, slow eating.
Which is, just
chewing
really
drinks
trying to savor it. Like whatever your normal eating speed is, halve it at least. And there was some benefits to it. It was, I could taste the individual pieces of like the salad I was eating.
Okay.
I could taste, like I'd hit like a real saltiness patch in the pasta or something.
I noticed it.
Salt. Yeah. And so with all of this stuff, I brought 7 nights worth of food. So like
no need to go out or anything. Yep. You're prepped for it.
All the same thing. Nothing extreme as well. So it was like a chicken pesto pasta with some veggies in it, a salad, and then a bunch of peanuts or cashews, and then 2 apples.
Yep.
That was it for the day. And so let's get into it. So Friday, the timer blocked twice in the first hour, man.
The glitter, the glitter.
You could not believe. I was just like, this is like fatal. This is meant to happen.
You were like,
because that first one, I was really, really proud of. I was doing it every time I thought, you should go check, open your eyes. I just went, no, just put it off. Like, just keep going, keep going. And so when eventually I did check, it was still, less than halfway done. And it was a bit more than halfway done. And I just went,
this hasn't moved.
What's going on here? Saw it at a stop and was like, okay, Zen, Karen, shake it, continue on. Did another, what felt like another half hour, 20 minutes. Checked again. It's blocked. Damn it.
Dang.
And then after that, I kept going until, eventually it ran out. And that one I actually did want to check. I was like, how long was I actually doing then? Because I had no idea after this point. I checked up and had been going like an hour and a half.
Where did you check?
So I did have a watch that I kept in the bathroom. So I would just check that in the morning and in the evening.
Gotcha. Okay.
Roughly timing of
what you're doing.
Stuff.
Yep.
So that first one actually lasted at least an hour and a half, if not a little bit more.
Okay.
Good. I love it when it does that. Had a lot of mind wandering from the 5th hour onwards. This was probably, I had one of the first experiences that were intriguing, which was it's sort of like my consciousness almost shifted more to around like my chest area. So I could still feel everything. Like I was still aware of sight in my head sometimes, but I just had this real feeling of being more down here than up in the head.
Okay.
So that was something a little bit interesting. Not like a mind blowing experience. Nothing that's going to stay with me the rest of my life. But just went, there you go.
Different. Yeah.
I had an intense claustrophobia at one point, and this is actually something I've noticed in the past. Particularly, I might have mentioned this before. The book Rowan of Rin, where he's going up into the mountain because the dragon has a bone in its tooth. Well, he doesn't know that. And one of the challenges they have to go through is this real tight tunnel to get up to the top.
That. Yep.
And there was 3 people. There was like Rowan of Rin, like this badass warrior girl, and sort of almost like Rowan's father figure. And the badass warrior girl, perfect in every sense, but she had one weakness: claustrophobia. And so they put her in the tunnel first, and it's essentially like, you have to like wiggle your arms through. There's not enough room to stretch an arm up overhead or back. You just go in whatever way that you're sort of like clawing forward. She gets in like 2 meters and then just goes nuts.
Nah, can't do this.
Gets pulled out. I've had stuff like that before, I think.
Okay.
And there was just this one moment where, I knew I could move anytime I wanted, but I was in one of my strong determinations. I got about, 40 minutes in, and man, I just felt this this wave of terror just go over me. It's just like, this is so intense, man.
But it was just, you were sitting there meditating, basically.
Yeah. So that was just a cool one in the sense of like, man, your mind is very powerful.
Where did this come from?
Yeah. So I knew about it, but
could you associate it with anything that you were thinking at the time?
No, not really.
It wasn't came out of left field.
It wasn't a thought. Yeah, it was more. I was trying to focus on, I think, the breath for that one, and my mind just kept going to the pain in my leg, and then there was just this one point where it was like, I really want to move, but I can't.
And then
I just
felt like the claustrophobia.
Just a wave hit me.
Dang.
There was one weird time.
Wait, did you maintain it?
I did.
Maintain the hold?
Yeah. I did manage to maintain that one, which was something to be proud of, I guess. There was a real weird time period in the evening when I was just sitting in bed where I was sitting reading, and sometimes I'd just start thinking about something else, and I'd either put down the book or just look up as you do.
Yeah.
And I zoned out hugely. There was this just zoning out, thinking of something, and then it was almost like someone slapped me in the face when I woke out of it.
You're like,
whoa, what was that? I made a mistake, Juan. And this is something.
What have you done?
I'm gonna.
He's gonna own up.
No, when you're preparing for one of these, I would highly recommend the day before not to listen to any music. So on the Thursday when I drove up there, I was listening
to music.
I did a little bit of work for the Mere Mortals on the podcast. So I was listening to some stuff then, and then I just chucked on the radio on the drive up. What 3 songs do you think got stuck in my head the most?
Was there a Taylor Swift song in there?
No, that's a good guess though. It's a good guess. So Uptown Girl.
Yeah,
Uptown Girl. That got stuck in. Rasputin by Boney M. They were playing that on the radio, and that got stuck in there. And then the classic Booty Work by T-Pain. They all got stuck, but it wasn't actually too bad. It wasn't.
They're not horrendous songs to get stuck.
Well, that is true. Although Uptown Girl, because I only know, I don't know all the words from it. I really only know the chorus.
And so the chorus just keeps repeating, so looping and looping and looping.
Yeah. They got stuck in my head, but it wasn't excruciating. It wasn't comparable to the sitting there and feeling that claustrophobia.
Okay. Yeah.
Saturday, what happened? Got twice blocked again in the 6th hour, and then once in the 8th hour. So I was like, "Oh, this is a dodgy time class." Yeah. That's in 17 attempts, got blocked 6 times.
6 times. 30% of the time.
One of the things that started to happen was I started to get an intense pain in my head, and I've had this before in uni when I was studying, where I'd go into uni and I'd sort of study for maybe 5 hours or be on the computers for 5 hours or so.
Yep.
And I would just get this pain right in the right temple, just almost not the worst migraine I've ever experienced, but it would build into it.
Yeah. Okay.
And this would start to happen, but it would start to happen really, really quickly. So it started to happen within 40 minutes on, there's the second day. By the last day, it would occur within 10 minutes. I just start to get this pain. When I was really locked into the concentration.
Just quickly.
Yeah, it would just come in and it would hang around. And there was one point where I was like, a lot of the times they say, go into the pain or observe it, feel it, look into it. And so I did that, and it just built to this holy
crescendo.
Yeah, man, it just was so bad. It amplified. So I didn't do that again.
Yeah,
because that was
now I'm not doing this.
That was intense. There was one moment as well where it lasted probably about a minute or two, where the pain in my leg and the restlessness, it really had the same quality as the birds chirping outside. So when you're feeling stuff, it's got that thing of coming into you. Whereas if you're hearing something outside, you can identify that with something else. That's a bird chirping. That's traffic outside.
Yep.
That's whatever. So there was this one moment where I got to it where that intensity of the pain in the leg felt the same as the bird chirping outside.
Okay.
And I was like, that's another cool one. I started to get some real weird dreams as well. And not only weird, but I could recall them
really well.
Really well. Sunday, I had one big moment of I was fighting, man. I was fighting the pain in my leg. It was just getting so bad. This was in the 4th session, so this would have been probably the 3rd strong determination sitting. So third time, just gonna sit here, just gonna get through this. And it got so bad that you've probably heard before of you just got to surrender into it, or whatever it is. It doesn't even need to be meditation, but grief or something like that.
Yeah, just let it happen,
let it
kind of deal.
Yeah, and that word surrender. I had to surrender, and it was a liberating type of feeling, I guess, to feel that. It didn't stick with me. I couldn't repeat it, but I'd managed to do it once, and I just went, And that's the thing with all of these. All of these are interesting little things I'd heard about before,
but first time experiencing that kind of deal.
I listened to, I think, all of Sam Harris's meditation ones up until maybe 6 months ago, or a year ago, and you can rationally understand basically all of them. He does a real good job of explaining them, but feeling it is a totally different matter.
Yeah.
Sort of, we've talked about this before. Knowing all the techniques and of what you should do to get a perfect handstand is so much different than you just going there and trying to do it yourself. It's just
just worlds apart.
Yeah, there's something in the actual experience of doing it. So the third day was when I actually started doing the yoga in the seventh session.
Yep.
And that was pretty much it from that day. So now we're getting on to the Monday. So the fourth day.
So over the halfway point.
Yep. So midway in, there was no real... I wouldn't even say I had experienced boredom to this stage.
Okay.
Up to that point, everything was at least interesting or capturing my attention. There was nothing where I was like, man, I don't particularly want to be here doing this. I mean, yes, because of the pain, but there was no like, man, there's just that feeling of boredom of, being in the doctor's office or something. And it's just like, oh, when's this going?
Waiting, basically. You're like waiting to go and do something else.
Yep. Yeah. But on the fourth day, that changed. That's when I did start to feel some boredom.
Ooh, okay,
yeah, definitely experienced boredom in the fifth and sixth session. And I had just one of my hardest, the strong determination sittings. I can't remember what made it hard, but I noted it down.
Can you remember the boredom bit, what your mind went to first? Like what you wanted to do instead?
Not particularly. It's not, there wasn't anything I wanted to do instead. It was more like, I just don't want to be doing this.
Okay.
So I think that's the thing with boredom. There's not, it's not really you wanting to do something else.
You just don't want to do
it's more,
that.
I just don't want to be doing whatever's happening right now. I'm not too sure about that.
Okay.
Yeah. From this was when I really started to notice I was getting some bad night's sleep. In the essence that I would wake up continually, more than 10 times per night.
Yeah, okay.
Rolling over, I'd wake up, roll over to the other side, wake up, roll over to the other side. Now, normally this is an indication that I'm going to feel real shit the next day. I didn't at all. And so I'm sort of thinking from this, I was maybe letting my body have too much sleep. And this is why in some of these retreats, they only sleep for like 4 or 6 hours a night. And it's because you're not really doing
anything. Yeah.
I probably took, it's got to be less than 1,000 steps per day in that place. Because, I'd get up and then I'd sit.
It's a small movement.
I'd maybe walk around a little bit to just stretch. But even when I was stretching, I was usually just standing in one spot, stretching.
Yeah.
So, Tuesday, I would say, so that Monday, the fourth day, was the hardest for sure.
Okay.
That was just a bitch of a day. Coming into Tuesday, started to get a little bit better. I did my first back-to-back strong determination sittings without any movement. So
2 hours.
2 hours just fully sitting there. The only movement I made, reach out, turn over the hourglass, continue again. So I was pretty happy with that.
Nice.
I was trying to hope. I was, sort of thinking in the back of my mind, it'd be cool to do like 4 hours just straight up. No, didn't get that.
What did you feel like after those 2 hours? Like right at the end of those 2 hours?
Look, I did think, should I try again for one more? And then I just went, nah. I don't need to.
Yeah.
This is maybe the ego getting into it. This is maybe, it's hard to say like, where's the ego playing the part in this? Whereas where it doesn't, I don't know. Whatever happened.
Didn't seem like there was any benefit to it.
Yeah. Just went, I'm going to get up and stretch. So the Tuesdays, the fifth day, nothing particularly interesting from that. Once again, just said the smoothest day out of all of them.
Ooh, okay.
And then I would say on the last day, I had definitely lost motivation. So on this day, even though I did all the meditations, they were a little bit half-assed. They weren't as focused as I was on days 1 through 4. So I'd say even on the fifth day, I was probably a little bit zoning out.
Right. Yep.
And then woke up. So today is the seventh day, I guess you call it. Just woke up. I was going to do another hourglass thing on that day just to say, I flipped the hourglass 50 times. I didn't do it, people. I wussed out. I flipped my 5-minute hourglass instead. I figured
49 hours, 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it's 50 flips.
It's 50 flips. I definitely did do more than 50 hours as well because it jammed so many times.
That's a good point.
I've definitely done more than 50. So that was my experience. Coming home, I felt good. Felt pretty good, man. Just really nice, like atmosphere. Driving, I do hate driving. I did notice how tense I was while driving. I think I was maybe a bit more in touch with my body and just feeling the frown following a little bit, or jaw clenching a little bit. It's going 110 on the highway, people rocketing by, there's people getting up your ass, like whatever it is. It's like, ugh. Yeah. So, I did notice that. I've listed a bunch of general observations and learnings and takeaways. I think I might save the learnings and takeaways for one of the meanderings and musings.
Or musings, yep.
But I'll go with some general observations. My body sounded like a cement grinder after day one. I sounded like you do, man. Just, whenever you just do some cracks,
yeah.
I could move my neck sideways like that and just go.
Oh, yeah.
I felt it everywhere. Not that it was bad, not that it hurt, but yeah, just the body, if it's not moving, does those things.
Yeah, okay.
It's like that. Yep. I definitely noticed better awareness, concentration, willpower, I guess you'd call it, in the earlier sessions of the day. So this is sort of getting, probably the first 3 hours were probably my best, and then it would taper off. And then, by the last was a little bit shoddy.
Okay.
Food became a chore and boring.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. I think it was because definitely because I was eating the same meal.
Yep.
So that, after that just gets repetitive. But yeah, there was just a point where I was like, oh, you know what? I think I could understand how they don't really care about food. They're eating the same shit day after day, after day, because once it ggets to that point, it's just a chore. It's like just something you have to do.
Just as another thing.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say I ever really got pleasure out of it either. It was just like, yep, this is what it is. Super easy to become dehydrated. I was dehydrated all the time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I just wasn't getting enough water in. Probably only needed 6 hours sleep per night, if I had to guess. This is getting more onto the solitude part of this. So it reminded me a lot of traveling, actually. Just that mind state of being in somewhere where you're, all on your own in essence. Like you can be surrounded by people like I was when I was traveling, but I think there's a lot of time for you to just think, because you're on buses, you're on planes, you're checking into a new hostel, you're walking around the city. You just get a lot of time to think. So I think it was that there was there's distractions while traveling, but there's a lot of time of you as well. Yeah, just a lot of time of that. Intense, vivid dreams with pretty good recall. And then, I didn't feel any intense longing or need for communication. And definitely not for distractions as well. I wasn't missing my phone. I wasn't missing, TV or anything like that.
Yep.
But even talking, like it's nice. I've been talking now for 40 minutes. It was
it's not like you missed it though.
Yeah. I didn't really, really notice. I didn't have any huge epiphanies. Let's put it this way.
Okay.
Some people go on these things. I think in Jack Cornfield's book, he was saying, if people go on retreats, it's usually around 15% have one of those peak
massive
experiences. So that's where, your body, you become out of your body experience. You're surrounded by a warm, glowing light that fills you up. You become essence with nothingness, all those sort of things. Platitudes, I guess. I didn't have that. And that's cool because I wasn't expecting that.
Yep.
But I would say I was, had a little tiny moments here and there. And then I was feeling a bit flat towards the end. I just went, this was good. Do I wish I had 10 days? No. Do I wish I had 4 days as well? Maybe, because I think I would have got basically everything that I got
out of it at the fourth day.
If I'd just left on the fourth day. Like if someone had called up, and then, because I gave my number I gave the Mark's number to the family just to say like emergency, talk to this guy, he can bang on the wall or door or whatever. If they'd done that on the fourth day and turned out to be like not an emergency or something, but I came home and I broke it, I wouldn't have been like, man, damn it, like I missed out on something. No, I think it would have been okay. I think I got what I wanted. Okay. Yeah, so that's it. That's my experience.
Time in solitude.
Yeah. So onto the.
If you had to rate it out of 10, so what would you say the experience was out of 10, and even compare it to how Sam Harris talks about it? Would you now do it year on year or something like that?
Yeah. Okay. So I was thinking of this myself. Rating out of 10, it was I'm just going to give it a flat 5 out of 10.
Okay. Yep.
I'm glad I did it. It was cool. Am I going to go become a monk? Hell no. That's not in the cards at all. Were there some interesting learnings from it? Yes. Were there some things I'd known about but never felt myself before? Yes, tiny little bits. I can sort of see...
that surrendering thing's cool.
Yeah.
That surrendering thing's really cool.
Like if, God forbid, one of my family members dies tonight, that might be helpful in the future in getting over the grief of that, particularly if they died in like a super horrible way or something. Those sorts of things, I'm glad, but it's just like, I'm also like, you know what, if it hadn't have happened,
would have been okay as well.
Okay as well. Like I'm now oneness. I feel the oneness. I feel the everything.
You're one with the current.
Yeah. So that's it.
But you wouldn't do it again. Are you saying this?
I wouldn't do it exactly like that again.
Okay.
I would be intrigued into what it would feel like to do that in a group setting, actually. So one of the reasons I chose not to was because I didn't want the group setting. I wanted the solitude. I wanted the even the staying inside was sort of like, I want to sort of feel what it would have felt like if I had to do the isolation that so many people had to.
Like Melbourne. Yeah.
Yeah.
Melbourne's back in lockdown again. So
yeah, I had something around that. And so I wanted to feel those. I wanted to taste what those were like. But do I need to do that exact same thing again? No.
No. Okay. Because my question is going to be you said always indoors. I wonder how different it would be if you did it in nature. Like imagine if you went camping or like it lived in a tent or something in that regard, and then you did all of your meditation out in nature or something. I don't know if it would really change it or not. I don't know.
It potentially could potentially make it harder. I've made my dislike of ants well known.
Yeah.
So, there would be just as many things to distract you.
True.
As it would and just as many as if I was in a completely like locked tight room. One of the things that I have heard and that I think would that does still something in my mind is like that might be something I would want to try. Is Aubrey Marcus talked about how he found this place in Germany where you go there and essentially this old couple and actually they have a family as well, where they've blocked off this one room in their house where it's completely light proof. So no light gets in. So he went into this room for, I believe it was sort of 6 to 8 days. And
dang, 6 to 8 days.
Yeah. And so he had...
Fuck that.
I think food delivered to him. He had the ability to this completely light-proof, what do you call it, blindfold.
Yep.
He'd put that on and he did have an ability to open a window, which when it would close would then be completely light-proof and you could take that off. And I think he even joined the family for like dinners. So he'd like leave the room with this thing on. But yeah, being in total darkness for 6 to 8 days, that like scares the hell out of me. And it's also like, what would that feel like? Because sight is definitely the main, if you ask people what sense would you least want to have taken away from
sight.
You, it's always sight because it's so useful. Like it's the prime, I would say the primary one. So feeling that, no, I wouldn't mind trying that.
Dang. I do know if you do sound isolation for a while, like it can make you go real nuts really quickly.
Oh, really?
So if you isolate yourself from sound, I don't know what the time is.
Yeah, I was thinking like, how would you do that? Like headphones on all the time?
Well, there are those rooms which is completely soundproof.
Yeah.
Rooms, so you could go to those, I think.
Yeah. Or go to the desert. There's a couple of deserts where people have had stories of they're walking through the desert. There's no wind. There's no anything. And so all they hear is just how loud their internal organs are.
Yeah.
And it's just like...
Well, you can get sound rooms where you scream and there's nothing.
Oh, wow.
Because everything... Cool. Yeah, so it's completely taken away. So imagine just screaming and nothing can be scared. That's what it'd be like.
Wow. That would be intense. Okay, I'd love to go one of those rooms, actually.
That blindfolded.
Yeah.
So it's like no senses. And then they hang you up with like a rope or something so you can't touch anything.
Well, I was just thinking, so there's a couple,
and they cut your hands off too.
Yeah, I was thinking, well, okay, like how would they get rid of your sense data? That would be pretty hard. Into like the touch, I mean by that. You could put a suit on that would maybe dim
like a reverse haptic suit.
Yeah, the nerve endings, but you're still going to feel impacts of walking, I think. Like, I'm not sure how you can get rid of that. So that one, I don't see how you could get rid of, but yeah.
You could float in a tank.
Yeah, so there's a float tank on, a bunch of places, but I know there's one on the north side, Gold Coast, where, it's not only the float tank itself, but the room itself is completely light-proof.
Yep.
Probably not soundproof, but
at least light-proof, yeah.
Yeah, so you could...
Things to trial out.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what float tanks are. They're soundproof, light-proof.
No, they're supposed to be sensory deprivation style.
How long can you stay in one of those for? Okay.
That's another 8 hours.
Yeah. One recommendation I would say from this is definitely don't do what Tim Ferriss did when he had his mental breakdown, which is combining things. So combining fasting and doing psychedelics on the end
all in the one go.
Yeah, like that. Especially if it's just something you're coming into for the first time.
It doesn't sound smart to do.
Yeah, I'm so glad I did those. Would have been like 60 hours worth of meditation 2 months before, because that definitely did prepare me. Like if I'd just gone in
10 minutes a day to 8 hours.
There's people who do that, man. I cannot believe that you can just go. You would go, I'm going to go to a retreat.
You would break down.
Never done this before.
You would break down. 100%.
Yeah, and just like the suffering, like I suffered during this for sure. Those people would suffer just something out of this world.
Like if I was to go and do that today, right now, if I was like, I'm going tonight, and I'm going to do 7 days, that first day would be such a suffering hole for me. I'd be like, I cannot. This is unfathomable. I cannot do this anymore. I'd have to leave or something like that.
For sure. And so I've got a bunch of learnings to take away.
We can talk. Yeah, we'll talk about the music soon.
Anything else with regards to Solitude that you wanted to?
No, I think that's super cool. Myself and Keenan will talk about it. I know probably podcast down the line on my upcoming 96 kilometer hike that I'm gonna have to do with basically no sleep and stuff like that.
That's definitely Juan's version of.
That's my version of the meditation.
It's just got exercise in it.
But see, for me, I'm almost, even though I'm going to be with another 3 individuals, it'll be interesting to me feeling that solitude.
I think that'll be a solitary thing.
Yeah, like that feeling of sure, I'll be physically moving, but when you get to those points where it's you've gone beyond sleep, you've gone beyond the normal face of life, and this other feelings, I think that for me is okay, I'm gonna test myself in that regard.
Yeah, so, I mean, especially because 2 of them aren't people that you know
deeply. But what you say, I have this feeling now that you say it, that I'm gonna encounter the exact same feeling of the just needing to, give in to the suffering, because I can no doubt say that at some point in a 96 kilometer hike up and down mountains, I'm going to feel sucky and my legs are going to be paining and my back's going to be hurting or whatever. And I'll probably have to just recall it and go, okay, I've got to just go
and how you do that, there's, one step after the next. Is it you set yourself I'll walk to that tree? Is it, I'll, feel, I'll put my attention elsewhere. There's all these tricks you can do. That's what all these different... There's meditation, and people say meditation as if it's one thing, but it's there's so many ways you can do it, man. There's so many ways.
So many ways to skin the cat, definitely.
Yeah, and lots of mental tricks.
No, I just wanted to kind of hear the idea. I think we'll pull out a couple more learnings and whatnot.
Yeah. There's
for the folks from
more of a learning ones to come.
So make sure you tune into those ones.
So folks. I'll tell you my little story now, and this relates to my mere mortal moment. So,
okay.
Karen sets all these rules. I'm not going to do all these things. I'm not going to do this. But they were broken accidentally twice. So the second one was the second thing. So I actually did manage to do full 7 days of no talking. Because today I went to the park, didn't talk to anyone. Came back here, didn't talk to you. So I did the full 7 days, which is kind of cool.
Good.
And more learnings to come from the no talking part. But the second one was more of a okay, I can sort of see how that happens, which is when I'm getting up to do something I don't particularly want to do, I go,
yeah.
And so I said, I think I sighed, which is okay, because I was doing plenty of burping, sneezing, coughing, all that stuff. But I did go and I went,
damn.
Got it. Second time.
Yeah.
The first time though was I was sitting on the bed. I think I'd just finished this day number 1, maybe number 2. Just finished Jack Cornfield's book, or just finished my reading of it. Was getting up to do the, go have some dinner. So I was like looking forward to it. Something new. Yes. Interesting. I get up at the bed, and one of the things I think I put this down to 2 things. So number 1 is from The Simpsons. You remember one of the early episodes there, Lisa gets, I can't remember what she's taking. She takes some sort of pills. I think it's to enhance her concentration or something. And she goes crazy on them, and they're at the water park. And then she like gets a towel and goes, "I am the lizard queen." Yeah. So it was that mixed with, and this is hearkening back to one of our earliest episodes. The first one where we talked about pod union, and in that same episode, it was the first one I'd put in a video clip in it, right in the middle here, and it was about the armadillo or the anteater. Anteater. It's like a little gif, probably my favorite gif of all time. Where it's like a little Joey in a house. It's got a sweater on, like looks around, then bounces away, and then round comes the corner. An anteater rears up on 2 legs and is like arms outstretched. And so it was a combination of those 2 things. I just finished reading the book, was pumped up. I got up to say, and I just like instinctively, without thinking, got off the bed and was like, I wanted to say, "I am the Buddha incarnate." Like, just, I don't know why that was going through my mind. And what came out, I didn't say it loud because it sort of went, "I am," and I went, "Oh, shit." So if you combine those together, I said a total of 3 words.
3 words.
I am, yeah. So
there you go.
My spirit animal, what I should have been called, shouldn't have been called Karen. My parents, you did it wrong. I should have been called I. And so my mere mortal moment is, not even the Buddha himself can resist a good meme.
Mate, no one can resist a good meme. No one can resist a good meme. I like that. No, that's very good. Mine was, there's just broad in solitude for the mere mortal moment. Solitude allows you to become intimately aware of the fine line between order and chaos. I just think, whether you're talking about it,
sounds like Jordan Peterson.
It does sound like it, but
Jordan
it is a 1G special. I think it's just it's an interesting thing of when you get a lot of solitude, you get to see things that you don't get to see normally, and I think that's the one defined line of the normal chaos of life and the order that sometimes is so hard to find. You'll get to see it when you're in true solitude, and you go, "Oh, okay. This is what it looks like." Like, I can see order in the horizon. You're probably not even in it, but you see it. But you also see the horizon of chaos. And you kind of like at that fine line. And I'd almost be tempted to say that if you don't do some sort of solitude in your life, I'm not saying it has to be, but I'm going to say high likelihood. If you don't do it, I don't see how you could ever find that line. Like, I don't know how you can ever detract or take yourself away from either one or the other, of being chaotic or too orderly or somewhere else. If you want to kind of see it and see it in a perspective, you've got to have some solitude. And whether that's meditating, training, like whatever, I don't care. But there's got to be something else that takes you away from that space.
Yeah, it's sort of like finding out what's within. I would say travel, that same thing that I did now, if you just go and travel for 6 months, you'll feel basically what I felt. Not exactly the same. You have some different experiences, but that feeling tone is there.
Some cool concepts
of
there.
What it's like to be on your own. There you go.
Thank you. Very good.
Thank you, Mere Mortals, for joining us for another Mere Mortals themed episode. This might be the last one for a little bit.
It might be last one for a little while.
There's some changes coming up, so we'll talk more about that in one of the meanderings and musings that's coming. And solitude. We actually don't want you all out there on your own. There is always the Mere Mortals.
Well, we don't want you to be lonely.
Yeah.
We don't want you to be lonely.
Yeah. You can be in solitude with listening to the Mere Mortals.
Exactly. Like you don't have to be lonely. Tune in, check us out.
Yeah.
We've also just talked about episode 200. Go back and check out episode 100. Maybe you can see some comparisons between us talking.
I might even do that. That would be
go back and see what's 100 to 200 just to see how it's looking like.
I'm going to do that tonight. I'm going to check it out, see what 100 was like. But you can also do that. You can also find us in the Instagram, Mere Mortals Podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Mere Mortals Podcast. You can find us on Facebook, Mere Mortals Media. Why is it called that? It's because I don't know. I screwed up the name somehow and I can't get it back. You can find us on any of the audio platforms.
Yep.
So if you watching on the YouTube want and listen instead, you can do that. If you're listening, you want to watch, you can do that as well. Easy. All of those good things. If you can, subscribe to us. If you're on whatever it is, that'd be awesome. And tell a friend. If you have a friend who wants to do a meditation retreat, you can say,
tell them to come listen in.
Know some people. They've done one. This is what he experienced.
Yep.
He screwed it up by saying some words.
I am. Exactly.
I.
All right, folks, that's it. We're going to go back to our solitude in the lair of the mere mortals back here. Yep. Enjoy yourself. One out.
Karen out.
Good.